the Shitubada. Chudan to Mungo, Ajajan Benjamin, Malala, and Zebazon, and Children, but then Babelanda Java. Pemanurbo Shablan, so and Namare, Dambalai, get on Ludon, Nijin, Ladame, Janam, Dando, Kunji, Danam, Jizamber. Tamchi Kedu, so sort of two jakes. Tashidelek everyone, and hope you all doing well. And okay, so today I'm here to talk a little bit about the introduction of Buddhism, and particularly why we need to practice that what Buddha has taught, and then what is the result or benefit of that. And then particularly I'm going to talk on the Vajrayana teachings, why it is important, and what is the unique or speciality in Vajrayana Buddhisms. So these are my main the focus or topic today. So I will begin with the first one, the general Buddhist or general Buddha's teachings that he taught the very first time. He turned the wheel of Dharma the very first time, right after he attained the enlightenment. So, so before that, I think we have to understand the background or the general these situations of this universal or in this world that everybody facing. Why Shakyamuni Buddha taught those teachings? That is because based on these situations of this universal, or in another word, in another way we can say, based on sentient beings' needs, their temperament, their wish, their situations, their thoughts, and elements. Because of that, or based on that, then Shakyamuni Buddha teach those kind of the teachings. And then Shakyamuni Buddha teach the teachings, or he taught various teachings in his lifetime, right from the Four Noble Truths, and then middle way path or emptiness path, and then the Buddha nature or potentials of the enlightened, or in Sanskrit it's called Tathagat Garbha, or how in the whole the teaching point is how one can recognize the true nature of mind, how one can make us stable in the settlemost mental states, right? Mental states. So that is the focus. So very simple things that he want to explain to all the sentient beings, but among the sentient beings, because of mental dispositions, because of the temperament, because of the situations, and then thoughts, different thoughts and discursive thoughts. So then he had to teach the various teachings. So I think this is important, that part that we need to understand. In general, in this world, regardless of who we are, whether that is religious or whether that is non-religious, whether that is high ones or low ones, rich one or poor one, this famous one or this, very simple human beings, no matter who we are, there are no one who does want suffering, and there are no one who doesn't want happiness. Wanting happiness and not wanting or not wishing suffering is equal for everybody. Not only the human beings, but even in animals. If you see, when you really generate some love and compassion, altruistic intentions, then they come to you and they feel safe. It means they don't want fear, they don't want harm and suffering. But if we have the different thoughts, the intentions of killing, beating, and then this humiliations kind of things, then even not only the human being, but even in animals, they scared from there and they run away. So this is not something that we have to relate with the religion, but it is something that it's in general that it's happening. So that is one fact. The first we have to understand. Only two things. Regardless of who we are, we always want happiness and we don't want suffering. Okay, that this two point is important. So Shakyamuni Buddha, the very first, he catch these two things. Okay, the suffering that we don't want, right from the small animal, as from the ant to the god realms. Regardless of who they are, regardless of who we are, we don't want suffering. That number one. And we always wishing and wanting happiness. So now the point is, what kind of the suffering that we're talking about here? The suffering, it's something that we don't want. What kind of the suffering we're thinking? This is something that painful. It is something that somebody's, how to say, somebody's like give you some trouble, and then problems. Is that something that you're thinking of the suffering? Or, suffering that your loved one is dying? Or suffering that something that you are not really satisfied that what you have? Or suffering that, insufficient, something that you don't have enough. So these are the suffering. What kind of the suffering that you are thinking? Now this is the important one. What Shakyamuni Buddha said here is the suffering that we don't want is suffering that comes from that something that you're wishing and you're grasping and something that you're in a wrong path, and from that wrong path, the whatever that comes, that is suffering. You're engaging into the wrong path, and that is suffering. That one point is that. And then another point is the suffering is something that exists in this world. It's not a permanent, it's impermanent, it's uncertainty. So whatever that uncertainty is here, it is connected with your emotional. Because like I mentioned before, you lose the loved one, and because you have so much attached and loved, you don't want to lose it, but it's impermanent, so it's depart from you. So now you can't, how to say, hold that suffering. You cannot control yourself, and the reason is you are not really being able to understand this impermanent part. So I think the second part is that I think the whatever exists in this world, all the compounded things are impermanent. So that I think that one also one important part to understand. That is what Shakyamuni Buddha point out the suffering is. The impermanent and impermanent is suffering. And another one is the defilement or emotional, whatever kind of the defilement is remained in this world or the emotional remain in this world, that is the cause of suffering, and that is actually the suffering itself. So now Shakyamuni Buddha trying to point out those kind of things, and especially engaging into the wrong path, and then grasping something that is not real, especially the ego clinging, having a notion of self, or how do I say, this I or me is the root of everything. So the problem here is we think that this is me and this is I. So to satisfy me or satisfied I want money, I want pleasure, I want happiness, and I want name and fame, and then support the luxurious things and whatever. And then because I don't want, so I don't want suffering, I don't want unpleasant, I don't want the insufficient, those kind of things, or negative things, and then blamings and then disrespect, those kind of things I don't want. So it's the root is the I itself. So because of the I, then everything's scatter. It's go like this. Then everything's connected with the I. But then Shakyamuni Buddha, what he trying to say here is, I is something that not exist. And this is something that you have the wrong view. Because of that wrong view, then you have been traveling in this world. You have been wandering in this world and keep coming back in this world again and again from the beginningless time to till today. But if you don't recognize it, if you don't understand it, and if you keep going with that same notions, same ego clinging or grasping, then you will again come back in the suffering of samsara and wander in the suffering of samsara. You won't be able to be free from the suffering of samsara. Reason is the cause of coming back in the suffering of samsara is still there. So now by recognizing it, by understanding that, then what Shakyamuni Buddha said is, then you can liberate, you can be free from the suffering of samsara. And there is the options, there is the methods, there is the possibility. So this is all about the first teachings that he taught, So because of that, then we are this, engaging into the religions, particularly into the Buddhisms, and then trying to understand those parts. How one can, obtain that kind of the mental stage where we can have all kind of those positives, pleasures, contentment, sufficient, happiness, ultimate happiness kind of things. And then at the same time, how one can minimize, how one can erase radically that the cause of suffering, negative things, illusions, unpleasant, greedy, all of that. So for that, then we're engaging into this great teachings taught by Shakyamuni Buddha. So when we say they taught by Shakyamuni Buddha, again we have to understand a little background about the Shakyamuni Buddha. Shakyamuni Buddha, who was the prince, who was born in Lumbini in Nepal, and he was a prince, and then he had everything that he wanted. And then at the age of 16, he got married. And then he also had one son. His name is Rahula. And then, but when he reached age of 29, then he began to see the things in this world. Everything is changing, everything is not permanent, everything is not last for long, everything is going to go, So when he saw those kind of things, then he begins asking himself that why this is happening. Why this is happening and what is the reason of this? So since he has all this knowledge, the contemporary knowledge, or I can say modern knowledge, educations, he had all that. So then he start digging himself or asking himself that what is the reason of that, and keep asking that. And he not only asking himself, but then he also met so many great master, well-known master at that time. And then he visit all the master, but then nobody gives the right answer that satisfied himself. And then one master said that if you really want to know the answer of that, and if you really want to be free from that kind of the situations, that is only you can do. Nobody can do that, because that all and everything comes from your mind. So if you understand the root of your mind, then you will be able to get that answer, or you will get that answer, or you will be able to be free from this suffering of samsara. So he took that advice very seriously, and he did 6 years unwavering or unmoving meditations, 6 years. And then at the age of 35, then he attained the enlightenment. He actually recognized the true nature of mind. So here the enlightenment means he understands the true nature of mind, the entity of that nature as it is. And now something that if you see the things as it is, then it calls enlightened being. Enlightened. You are enlightened with something. You enlightened with the reality. Is that right word to say, reality? Right? The nature as it is. So he understand that why, he understand the nature of mind as a clean, as a awareness, as a pure, as a naked, as an empty space. So when he really reach that stage, then that all the bliss and everything that he obtained. And then now he has a fully freedom with his own mind. So right now we have so many problems because our mind is not under control. Our mind is out there, scattered everywhere with a lot of thoughts and emotions and attachment, all of that. And somehow we are not really being able to bring this back and then settle down and then make it stable and get into the deeper levels. That is something we are not really being able to do right now. But Shakyamuni Buddha, what he did is he did the 6-year unwavering meditations, and then at the end he reached that state, the subtlemost mental states, subtlemost level of mental state, or let's say then recognize the true nature of mind, and then he becomes Buddha. He become an enlightened being, so which is in Sanskrit it's called Buddha. So then after 35 to 80, that's 45 years, he taught the various teachings, and then at the age of 80, and then he entered the parinirvana. or he entered into parinirvana, or in simple way, he passed away. So this is the Buddha. So after he got enlightenment, then he taught all this, he taught all these teachings. So that is something that we can rely to him. It's not something that out of his thoughts, he just mentioned this without, let's say, based on anticipation, based on anticipation. It's not like that. He saw things clearly, directly, direct cognitions, directly, and then that reality that he saw, he teaches us how we can also see that things directly, how one can also recognize the things as it is. So now, since he had the experience, or that the clarity, pure visions, or free from that false, F-A-L-S-E, false, free from that kind of the false, since he has found the right view, with that right view, then he taught all these teachings. So that is something that we can rely on him. Okay. So now what he taught, the teachings, that's important, right? So what he taught, the teaching, is then the very first teaching that he taught is the Four Noble Truth. After he attained the enlightenment, the very first teaching was the Four Noble Truth. And Four Noble Truth is truth of suffering. Again, it comes to the suffering, truth of suffering. And sufferings has the cause of that. Suffering comes from the cause. So what is that? And then there's truth of originations. Originations, origin or originations. Or cause of suffering, truth of cause of suffering. Truth of suffering, truth of cause of suffering. These two is relative in worldly concern. This true is very much into this world that everybody have to understand. Whether you are religious, whether you are not religious, whether you are believer or whether you are non-believer, doesn't matter. We have to understand that this situation or this system, if you reject or if you ignore this system, you will suffer. There is no options. I will tell you the reason of that. And the another one is truth of cessations. The third one is the suffering that you have is suffering has a cause of suffering. The cause is something that not permanent. It's impermanent. You can delete it, you can erase it, you can minimize it, you can purify it. And then when you purify it, you reach this cessation level, the peace level. And that peace is not come out of, doing nothing or out of blue or without any reasons. You have to gain this. Gain, can I say gain? You have to get this. How you can get this? Then you have to apply the path. So truth of path. Truth of suffering, truth of origination, truth of cessation, and truth of path. So this is the four noble truth. Now this truth and cessation, truth of cessation and truth of path, this truth is this cause and result of this liberations. How one can liberate from the suffering of samsara. So liberate, the path of liberation is this truth. Path of, truth of world is this truth. Now we have to understand the system of this suffering and cause of suffering, this system. Now here it is, the law of causality or law of cause and effect. So this is something Shakyamuni Buddha talking about. The first of all, we are wandering in the suffering of samsara. And this suffering of samsara, it's not something that comes from without cause. It's not the production of without cost, and it's not the productions of someone's, let's say, like creators. And it is something that comes from cause and conditions. So the reason of we're coming back in the suffering of samsara and wandering also has the cause and conditions. Now, what is this cause and condition? Is then that ignorance and then the karma that we do. Karma means the action that we do. That action we do from our body, we do the action from our speech, and we do action from our mind. So this three door is the door of doing that action or that create that karma. Now, how we do know that this karma is bad? Because the ignorance, or that, you remember that I told you, the engaging into the wrong path, 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 right? Engaging into the wrong path is because you have that ignorance and you don't know where you are engaging in and where you are going. So because of that ignorance, you are getting into the wrong path, and because of your wrong path, then you are creating the wrong actions. Because of the wrong actions, and again result of that, and you suffer. So this system is something that we need to understand, and this is not something that Buddha taught, and this is not something that Buddha create the system and then he taught. It's not something that. This is the natural law that he taught. So this is what we call the relative truth. Why he said this is relative truth? Because relative means the conventional level, relative levels. In this world, everywhere, everything is related with this truth. Whether you are Muslim, whether you are Christianity, whether you are Judaism, whether you are Hinduism, whether you are Jain, whether you are Sikh, whether you are Buddhism, no matter. Or whether you are non-religious, doesn't matter. This system is always there. Before Buddha, this system was there. When Buddha was there, this system was there. And when Buddha passed away, the system is still there. And as long as this samsara remain, as long as these sentient beings remain in this world, and this universal remain in this world, this system will remain. Because this is natural law, something that nobody can change. And unless or until we don't understand this, we suffer. So, out of compassion, Shakyamuni Buddha simply taught, if you want happiness and don't want suffering, the option is we must understand the system of law of cause and effect. For example, I'm not a pilot, or not a pilot is too high level. I don't go that part. Let's say driving. Because I don't drive the car. And if I don't drive the car, I don't, cross the red light. If I don't cross the red light, I don't get the ticket of crossing the red light. Understand what I'm saying? Okay. So, now crossing the red light is something that wrong that I did. But if I don't have done that wrong deed, then there is no way that I get the tickets. So, and this is something that there's the traffic law said, and it's not something that Buddha said. But more or less we believe the cause and conditions, but then somehow we're not really try to contemplate that and try to understand the system of that. When we face that result, and but then we ignore again. We don't really try to understand the system of that, and that relate with each and every actions that we do in our life. Without crossing red light, I don't get a ticket. If I cross the red light, can I say cross? Right? Then I get the tickets. And crossing is the actions. And without creating the actions, I don't get any result. If I create the actions, then there is the result. And that is not something that we can deny or we can ignore. And the system is the natural law. And I do remember I saw one video in YouTube long time ago. I may be mistaken, but there's Martin Luther King once said that no one is above law, but then no one is above constitution, but the natural law, he said. Nobody can stop natural law and nobody can deny the natural law. Does that make sense? I have heard something like that, but I may be wrong. What he said is nobody is above constitutions of United States. Basically, what he's saying is the constitution is the top of everything. Nobody's up there. Even the president is under that law. There's constitutions. But natural law is something that nobody can change it. The constitution, still we can change it according to the situations. But the natural law, something that we cannot change it. For example, like tsunami, hurricane, volcano, natural disaster. This thing is something that we cannot stop. There's no way that we can stop. And that's something that natural things happening. So I think even in insurance, if something happen in natural, they don't pay you. So what I'm trying to say here is we have to understand the natural law. Whether you are a believer or not, or whether you are religious or non-religious, whether you are a believer or non-believer, doesn't matter. If you want happiness and if you don't want suffering, the only option is by understanding the natural law. And natural law is something that, how to say? And now, okay, how that natural law work. There is only three things that we need to understand: cause, conditions, and the result. So something that result. If you want happiness, there is the cause and there is the condition, and result will come out. If you don't want suffering, again there is the cause, condition, and results. If you erase this one cause, so there is no way that you can connect with the condition. If you don't connect with conditions, there is no way that you can get this result, which is suffering. If you want happiness, this result is happiness, and the happiness comes from cause. You have to create the cause, and because of this cause, sooner or later, when times come, you connect with the conditions. And then because of cause and condition is connect, and then result will materialize, okay, result will come out. So these three systems, okay, for example, if you want to, if you have the seed of corn, okay, if you have a seed of corn, the seed of corn is the cause. But if you put this seed of corn, on the table, then that's not going to give you any result, even though that the seed cause is there. That's not going to give you any result. The reason is that corn need to connect with conditions. Putting here is not the right condition. You can put here, you can keep here, but because this is not the right conditions, so that doesn't give any result. Now you have the seed of corn. Now what you need to do is you need to put that under the ground, and the ground is something that conditions. Now condition to grow this, to give a result of this corn, or grow and give a result, the condition should be there. And condition is that the 6 condition that you need to understand. Number 1, the earth, which can help you to hold. Second, the water, which can help you to the tight, hold and tight with the mud. And then condition number 3, the heat or fire, that can help you to grow. If your body heat, if you have the heat in your body, it means you are alive still. It means that body healing you to grow. If you don't have that heat, it means you are not really moving, not really growing. It means you are dead. Very simple, right? So the fire helps you to grow, the heat. And then now the wind, that help you to movement. Because you remember the impermanent, it's movement. Okay. And then now the 5th one is the space. If you don't have the space, then there is no way that you can grow. So you need the space. So that other condition is space. And now again, when you have all of these 5, if you don't have time, then again it's not possible to grow. The seed is there and all the condition is there, but if you don't have time, if you put right now, immediately they're not going to give you the result. That is the time process. So this is the 6 conditions you need to contact. And when you have the right seed and when you connect with these conditions, then time-wise that result will come out. So this is how that natural law work. And this system is something that we need to understand. And now this will apply all the things that exist in this world, whether that's your actions, whether that is your work, or whether that is something that you eat, whether that is something that you try to achieve. Everything's related to those kind of things. And now when we talk here about this, the cause. Now cause also has 3 attributions. Cause must be something that it's on. It's not something that unchanged conditions says. Something that not because, okay, if I want, that condition is change, that causes change. If I don't want, that's not change. It's not like that. That cause something that it is there, and nobody, that cause doesn't have to ask anyone, or cause doesn't have to depend anyone. Cause itself is remain there unchangedly. Unchanged means like not depending others. Its cause itself should be there. So it's called unchanged conditions. That's one. And another attribution is that cause should be impermanent. If that cause is permanent and always be there, then that again there is no way that can give the result. The reason is when, like for example, that the seed of that corn, when you put under the ground, that corn has to destroy it completely in order to give the result. If cause is still there and result comes out something, then it's not related with that 2 things, because cause is still there, right? So result comes out from something else. So that is something not happening. So cause, when you put under the ground, that cause has to destroy completely, and from that then this result will come out. So it means the cause, the seed of that corn is impermanent, because that is something destroyable, changeable. So that should be impermanent, the second attributions. Now third attribution is it's called the power or potentials, and also that need to be the same lineage. For example, David William. So William is this one lineage. So William cannot produce the Wagoner. William cannot produce something others like caste, right? William has a power to produce another William. Corn has a power or potential to produce another corn, but the corn doesn't have the power to produce the potato or tomato, because that is not the same line as the potential is that. So in cause has to three attribution. One is unchanged condition. Unchanged means not like that cause itself not changing, but something that you don't have to depend anyone else. That is what it's saying, the unchanged condition. And then impermanent, and then the potentials. So cause has these three attributions. So that kind of the cause is if there, and then when that kind of the cause with these three attributions connect with any conditions, then that can give the result. Okay, so this is the law of cause and effect. Cause and effect. And this system is something that we need to understand. If you want happiness, you have to understand this system. If you don't want suffering, still you need to understand, because suffering comes from cause and conditions. If you want happiness, happiness also comes from cause and conditions. And that kind of the cause and what is that cause and condition? That's something that I don't want. And what is that cause and condition? Something that I was looking for. Okay, now that cause and condition has taught by Shakyamuni Buddha. He said that he dharma hetu prabhava hetunde khen tathagata hayavate khencha yo nirot yavambade mahashramana. This is the word that he said. And the what is that means is, he dharma means all the phenomena, all the phenomena comes from cause, effect of cause. The hetu prabhava. Hetu means the cause. Prabhav means the effect. All phenomena comes from the effect of that cause. If there is no cause, that the phenomena won't be there. So it comes from cause and condition, that cause. And who has taught that cause is then the Shakyamuni Buddha has taught. And how one can be free from that kind of the suffering, and how one can reduce or delete that cause of suffering, that method also has taught by Shakyamuni Buddha. Nirodha. He dharma, hetu prabhava, hetunte shenta. Hetu teshenta means the cause has taught by Shakyamuni Buddha. Hetu, that's tathagat garbha, shenta. And then Tathagat means like the enlightened being, or Shakyamuni Buddha has mentioned that. And again, how one can be free from the suffering of samsara and get the nirvana. Hayavate khenta nirodha. Again, that nirodha or cessations. Also, how one can get that cessations. Also had this mahashramana means the great being. Mahashramana has mentioned that. So how one can be free from the suffering of samsara also has introduced by Shakyamuni Buddha or Mahashramana or great beings. So that is the main reason why we engage into the Buddhism and try to understand the cause of that suffering, and then delete that cause of suffering and be free from the suffering of samsara. So that is the main reason why we engage into the Buddhism, and that is I think the very basic teaching of Shakyamuni Buddha that he taught. Actually, there as this Four Noble Truth also has each truth has 4 attributions. So there is the 16 attributions that how that system will work. But I'm not going to go those part. If we have time in the future, we can talk on that. But then this is something that the system, the law of cause and effect or law of causality, this system is something that we need to understand. Shakyamuni Buddha, the very first time when he taught the wheel of dharma, he emphasized this part. The very first, if you want happiness and if you don't want suffering, please understand this system. Because whatever is happening in this world today, because of not knowing what you are doing, not knowing where they come from, because of the ignorance of that, because of engaging into the wrong path, and having ego clinging and grasping, and these things are happening. Now, why these things are happening? Because you are not understanding the law of causality or natural law. So at least try to understand the natural law and try to apply that in your day-to-day life, and that will change your life. That is what he emphasized. That is the number 1. And number 2, what he said is all the phenomena, whatever exists in this world right now, is interdependent. Nothing is exist permanently. Nothing is exist. Independently. Nothing is exist forever. Permanent. Each and every part is impermanent. Each and every part is temporary. Each and every part is dependent. Depend on something. So now, the understanding the system of that also very important, because we understand that I have done this. I am free from that things, or I am independence. We have that notions, but that notions comes because we are lack of understanding the interdependent originations. When we have the knowledge of interdependent originations, each and every part, or each and every particles, or each and every thoughts and emotionals has connect with something else, and that because of that connection is exist, that you exist. Because you exist, because that connection is exist. So that's correlated. Can I say correlated? That is connect each other or depend each other. Because of you, I exist. Because of I, you exist. So the words of you and I, it's interdependent each other. If there is no you and there is no I, so this is interdependent. So let's say like they cross the road. If there is no cross the road, then we cannot say this side or that side. So because we have the cross the road, so we say this side and other side. So this side and other side depend each other. And for example, like male and females, even though these days there are the third gender, but we can say, male, because of the male, there is a female. Because of the female, there is the male. But if there is only one category, then there's such words, the male and female is no exist. Because there is only one category, then we don't have to use the male or female. It doesn't matter. The word is useless. Right? So each and every particle, each and every things, whatever exists in this world, directly or indirectly, has connect each other or interdependent each other. So, and this system also very important to understand. So when you understand this system, then that will give you the that will give you the 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 confident to you that the notion of I, it's just the dependent, it's imputed. Can I say imputed? It's just the imputed, it's not real, right? It's not something that exists independently. That is not something that exists by itself. It is independent, it is dependent, interdependent, depend on you. So I is exist. So in reality, I is not exist. Now, how you can get that confident? Because when you understand the interdependent system. So this is the second layer of Buddha's, Shakyamuni Buddha's teachings. The first one, the Four Noble Truths, Law of Causality. Second is interdependent originations. Now, when it comes to interdependent, we're getting into a little deeper level. And now, again, what he taught is, because of all phenomena are interdependent originations, that because of that, each and every particles are by nature it's empty. Now this something that then you are getting into the more deeper level. And now because the emptiness part that we're talking about here is based on interdependent originations. Each and every particle doesn't have any any identity, any solid proof of identity or entity. It is just the interdependent. If you really investigate on it, try to find out the nature of it or entity of it, then you won't be able to find it. But when you really connect each other, depend each other, then you can have the notion of that. But that is only the notions, that is only the thoughts, grasping. In reality, there is no such thing as exist. Each and every particle, that whether that is the physical, whether that is the mental state, each and every particle, each and every thought, inherently not existing, lacking inherent existent, entitylessness. And that is what we call emptiness. For example, fourfold of emptiness. The form that, let's say like this is the form, the table clock. This is form, but when you investigate this, when you investigate on it, analyze on it, experiment on it, this is empty. So form, in reality, it's empty. But the empty is none other than form, and that form is none other than empty. So this is what called fourfold of emptiness. The fourfold means the form is empty, empty itself is the form. Because of this interdependent, this is empty. Because of this is empty, so this is the possible of being this table clock. And emptiness is none other than form, and form itself is none other than emptiness. So they are also interdependent again. So that system, because of that system, then Shakyamuni Buddha said, all and everything, whatever exists in this world, inherently not existing, inherently free from identity, by nature it's empty, by nature is the selflessness, and then by nature it's free from elaborations. And this is what Buddhists thought of emptiness. It's not just a space emptiness, but then emptiness means the form is empty. When you investigate and experiment, it's empty. But because of that empty, the form is exist. Because that interdependent. That system is then he taught in his second will of Dharma. So now how we can understand how we can get more confident about emptiness, then you have to investigate. Mainly there has mentioned that four great logical argument of middle way. Now, by that four great logical argument of middle way, then you can understand that why all phenomena are empty, or empty by nature, or selflessness, or how to say, lacking inherent existence. If you don't investigate it, then it's difficult to understand. So now how we can investigate that? Then there is the four logical argument that you can apply and investigate it. So this is something that Shakyamuni Buddha taught, and there is the example also. Yeah, I think that will help you to understand. Whatever we see today here, all the existence that we have, that we perceive, each and everything's in these five senses: eye, ear, nose, tongue, body, that we feel, and all of that. Without investigating in general level, in relative levels, in conventional levels, it's everything exists. There's no faults, there's no problems, and this is what we call relative truth. Relative truth. Interdependent, okay. There is a male and female, okay. Everything exists. But when you really investigate on that, investigate into this deeper levels, and then now that becomes empty, and that's not real. Without investigating, it's real. It's relatively it's real. Conventional level, it's okay. But when you investigate each and every part, it's actually not existing. Inherently not existing. It's empty by nature. Now, how we understand that is, for example, like it is something like a dream. In dream, when we go to bed and sleep, and then when you dream, in dream you have sometimes you have so many you have the very bad situations in dream. Maybe some snakes chasing to you, or like the tigers or lions or whatever that you are getting scared with. That really after you, and then you really try to escape from those situations, and sometimes you're able to do that, and sometimes you're not. But that problems, whatever that fear and in dreams that you're facing, in dreams you never realize that it's dream, so you're scared and you're running after that. Like you're trying to run away from that. But the morning when you wake up, that whatever that dream that you just dreamed, or that situation that you was going through was just a dream, it's not real. Then the moment that you wake up and realize that it's not the real and dreams, that all the confusion, all the problems, and all the suffering and fear is relief. Can I say relief? You're free from that. And then you don't have any attachment against or fear against fear of that kind of the dreams, because when you wake up from that dreams, the moment you wake up, you realize that it's just dream, that's not real. So when you feel that, then you don't have any fear at all again, right? So similarly, when you have in dreams again, when you have very peaceful dreams, like in the dreams you have a private jet, you have good positions, you are very famous, you have a lot of money, you have everything that you want, like thousands of servants, you are living a king life, a queen life. I'm sorry, I have to say that. But
when you are dreaming that those kind of things, in dreams you're really enjoying that, and you don't want to lose it because you don't know that this dream. But that morning when you wake up from your dreams, and then you realize that whatever that you saw, it's a dream, and there's no attachment again. Because the moment you wake up, you realize that is a dream. That's not the real. Whether that is you are not attached with the jet, private jet. You are not attached with your name and positions and fame and that all the luxurious life. You can easily let it go, because you realize that it's not the real. So Shakyamuni Buddha, what he said is, the all and everything's right now here, whatever we're seeing, in our view, we think, we have a notion that everything is real, because we are not really being able to understand the reality of that, just like a dream. But the moment you wake up, moment you understand that is not the real, it's a fake, and the reality of that is empty, the moment you understand and when you touch or experience the nature of empty, then you can let it go easily. So that is the beauty of understanding the empty, or that is the benefit of understanding the emptiness part, because you can let it go easily. So right now we have a lot of greedy attachment, desire, and we don't have that kind of the contentment, saying the enough, not satisfied. So because of that, then you suffer. Now why that all kind of the desire and greedy comes? Because you don't understand right now that there is no such what we call sense of I or me. That is the one example that Shakyamuni Buddha has mentioned, like dreams. And another example he has mentioned is reflection in mirror. So when you stand up in front of mirror, exactly like you can see into the mirror. But when you break down the mirror and try to find the other persons which you just saw into the mirror, you won't be able to find it. It's just the mirror. Similarly, whatever we see right now out there, it's just the reflections of your thoughts, reflections of your mind. If you really investigate one by one, like I just mentioned before, the table clock, this is table clock for you. But if you really investigate, take out of this, take this one by one, take a part, then you won't be able to find any of the table clock inherently. So that is what we call the empty by nature. So this nature of this table clock is empty. Now, similarly, when you see the reflection on the mirror, you see very clearly that something exists in mirror. But when you investigate that, you won't be able to find it. And that is the reality. No matter how many powerful you are, you won't be able to find any person in mirror that you saw. And that is something that we need to understand. And similarly, moon in the waters, optical illusion, and the mirages, right? All of that is the example of all the phenomena are empty by nature. Whether that is human being, whether that is this universal cosmology, whatever it is, all and everything is inherently not exist. And lacking inherent existence. So, so that I think is the part that we need to understand. And then, now whatever that exists in this world, where that comes from. And now here is the very simple thought that Shakyamuni said is in the final teachings, the third teaching of the wheel of Dharma. what he said is, this all and everything comes from your mind. Four Noble Truth, also very much related with your mind. Interdependent originations, also very much related with your minds. Emptiness part, also very much related with your mind. And now here, at the end, his thought teachings, the will of Dharma, he said that all and everything comes from cause. That's how to say, mind. So your mind is the root of everything. Now what we need to understand is, he said that if you try to look outward and try to find the peace and happiness out there, it's a waste of time. You won't be able to find that. Because the whatever you see out there, it's the projections of your mind. It's just the reflections. The reality is in you, the mind. The mind is in you, not out there. So if you want to understand the reality of samsara, don't go out there and search. Turn your mind inward and then try to understand, or try to settle down your mind, and then try to recognize your mind and try to be there. Try to make it stable. So if you be able to do that, then you can easily understand the samsara, and you can easily, stop getting attached, and you can easily recognize your mind, and you can easily be free from this confusions, or from this ignorance to knowledge. Now in thought teachings, what he said is, now since this all and everything comes from your mind, how one can train your mind, how one can recognize your mind, how one can purify your mind. Now this is something that the thought teachings he taught, and in thought teachings basically he taught about this all kind of the tantrayana, vajrayana, the mantrayana, this the methodologies, all of that has mentioned in this tantrayanas. Now here the methodology, or methodology, right? Methods. So many methods he has mentioned, that how one can purify it, how one can transform our mind into wisdom, or mind into from ignorance into wisdom or knowledge. So that technique. So what most of the great masters said is, in one way, when we talk about the realizations, and then be free from the suffering of samsara, it's not a big deal, because you don't have to go out and look for that. That's something that already within you. Now all you have to do is, you have to twist that. Can I say twist? You have to just flip that. The only matter is how you can do that. If you be able to do that, then it says that enlightenment is in your hand. So as a Buddha is the palm of your hand. In Namcho text it says, right? Buddha is palm of your hand, means it's already there. Enlightenment is already in your hand. Now only thing is how you can use it and then flip it from ignorance to knowledge, from mind to wisdom, from samsara to nirvana. Now only thing is, the technique that you have to use. And that kind of the different techniques especially has mentioned in this Vajrayana teaching. So I think these days Vajrayana becoming so famous because of, I think, that technique. That technique, it's not something that I want this thing, so you have to do this. It's not like that. According to your temperament, according to your thoughts, that technique is applied. So because of that, it's in one way it's easy to apply it, because it's not in order for everybody. I mean, like, it's not the same for everybody. Each individual has a different technique. For you it's a different technique, for you it's a different, for you it's a different technique, for you it's a different technique. So now that techniques comes from the realized persons, someone who can understand your temperament, someone who can understand your knowledge, degree of your knowledge or level of your understanding, and according to that, and then teacher will give you the instruction. So that is, and that kind of the teachers, what we call the root teachers. So root teachers, so I think you have received so many teaching by now, maybe you understand that different teacher has a different words, different methods, so because they use the different methods so that you can understand that. For you it's a different methods, and for him it's different method. The purpose is same. Purpose is transform your mind from diluted mind to the reality or awareness, from ordinary mind to extraordinary or wisdom, from impure mind to pure mind. So the purpose is that, but then each and every individual has a different methods. Each and every teacher has a different methods, because their own view and their own out of their compassions, they use the different thoughts, different methods, different words, different technique, different idea, so that other people take a benefit from that. I think like that. So because of that, now it's in our thought teachings. So then Shakyamuni Buddha give introductions of the Buddha nature or the potentials, or in Sanskrit it's called Tathagat Garbha. So and this is not something only for Buddhists, or this is not something only for human beings. All the sentient beings, whoever has that sense or the mind, each and every mind has this Buddha nature or potentials. But when they can, and what is the meaning of a Buddha nature? Means the cause of being an enlightened being. Cause of being enlightened. So one day, even I can become a Buddha, even you can become a Buddha. Not only you and I, but even ants, animals, tigers, king cobra, all and each and every sentient beings can become a Buddha, because the cause is there. The Shakyamuni Buddha, the very first teaching, he said, law of causality, cause and conditions and result, all the way up to this teachings, Vajrayana teachings. Again, he's saying this cause is there, Tathagat Garbha, the potential is there. Now, when you become a Buddha, when that cause can, transform into the reality or materialize it, when that connect the conditions again. The cause is there, the Buddha nature is there, the potential is there, and now condition, you have to connect the condition, and condition is the method or technique that you have to use. And when you use that technique as a conditions, then that can give a result, and which is enlightened. So now that conditions, at this moment, the teachers and the teachings, these two become conditions. So your root teachers actually very important, because that condition, without that you cannot become a Buddha, you cannot become a Buddha, or you cannot become enlightened. Even though you have that cause, like I mentioned before, the seed of corn, if you have the seed of corn, but if you put that on the table, then materialize the result. Can I say materialize the result? that never be able to give the result or grow the corn. Condition is important. Similarly, each and every sentient beings have that Buddha nature, but the Buddha, each and every sentient beings only become a Buddha when they connect with this condition. And condition is the technique, which is dharma, which is the method, and then teachers, who show you the methods or technique. So then, when these two connect, then you are Buddha. So best of luck. Okay, so this is all about that. So this is, I think, the vague or general informations of Buddha's teachings. So by understanding these informations, then now it's up to you now whether you want to be free from the suffering of samsara or not. Whether you want happiness or sufferings. If you don't want happiness, or if you don't want suffering and want happiness, what kind of the happiness you want? Temporary happiness or ultimate happiness? Temporary happiness is you can get by being nice with everyone. But if you want ultimate happiness, and then if you want to really understand the reality of all the phenomena, reality of everything, then you have to really get into the path. Otherwise, it's not possible. Just reading some books, some listening some teachings is not possible. You have to go systematically. Okay. So now, how you can go that? Then now. Then you have to choose the path. So when you want to choose the path, for example, now if you want to become if you want to practice this, understand this, then you have to become. Now, in these general teachings, you can learn anywhere. But now, understanding that if you really want to apply each and every part, then you have to go through the systematic way or the procedures that you have to follow, and that is the number one, that you have to get into this Buddhist path. Now, how one can become a Buddhist path? That is the four system that you have to understand. Number one, gateway of Buddhist is refuge. Can I say gateway? The gate of Buddha Dharma. Gateway, right? Gateway of Buddha Dharma, or the path, door of Buddha Dharma. It's refuge vow. That is the four vow. Refuge vow that you have to take. Now, to whom that we are taking a refuge is then it's called three jewels or three ratna. Three means the three, and ratna means the precious or jewels. And what is that three jewels or three ratna? Is the number one is Buddha, who taught the priceless or this marvelous teachings. So seeing the great being or seeing as a great teacher, and having that kind of the confident or inspirations, with that kind of the inspirations, we take a refuge to him, the number one. And then second is the dharma that he taught, because that is the method that we are going to apply in our day-to-day life. And then one day we also become as a Buddha. So this is the second precious things. And third precious is the Sangha, that who follows Buddha's teachings. All the Sangha, even that include us. All the Sangha that becomes the precious one. Because if you're traveling somewhere and if you're alone, maybe you can begin the travel, but then middle of somewhere you may lose your encouragement. You may lose your hope. So, but if you have some company with you, that will encourage you to keep continue the practice or keep continue the travel. So Sangha will help you to travel together, to practice together. So Buddha, Dharma and Sangha. So these three is what we call three jewels or three important that we take a refuge. So taking a refuge to these three jewels is what we call you becoming the actual Buddhist practitioners, or you are getting into a Buddhist. You becoming a Buddhist. Okay, this one system. And now this vow is general. Taking a refuge to three jewels is general for Hinayana, general for Parteke Buddha, general for Mahayana and Vajrayana. All of these three or four levels is the same. This first. Now second it's called the Pratimoksha vow, which means the ordained vow. Now this is second levels, and you also have to take these levels again. And this one is now when you understand more and you really want to take that in serious practice, then only you have to take, otherwise you don't have to. No, this one is that one levels. And if you want to increase your practice, now this Pratimoksha vow means the self-liberations again. Okay, self-liberations. You don't have to, taking the Pratimoksha vow, you don't have to think any sentient beings at this moment. You want to be free from the suffering of samsara. You don't want to wander in the suffering of samsara, and you want to be free from the suffering of samsara. For that, you are taking a Pratimoksha vow, which means self-liberations. Second level. But if you want to increase more your practice, then it's become third one. It's called Bodhisattva vow. Now here, what you are increasing is, of course, you are practicing the methods that Buddha taught, how one can minimize or ignorance, angers and jealousy and all of that, and how one can increase or this good quality, right? So now here and when I'm practicing that, I'm not only practicing for myself, but I'm practicing for others also. I'm including every sentient beings. Because I understand that just like me, I don't want suffering and I want happiness. All the sentient beings also wants happiness and don't want suffering. So, and then also, just like I have mothers who have done so much to me, who is so kind to me, I have to repay to this present my mothers. But then similarly, all the sentient beings also in one life, they had become my mothers. They have been my mothers. So when they have become my mothers, just like my mothers, the present mothers, looking after me and being so unconditional love, giving so unconditional love and so kind to me, all the sentient beings, when they become my mothers, when they were my parents, they also have done the same things to me. Then why this partiality things now? Why only this present mom and why my other sentient beings that I'm ignoring? I shouldn't do that. So I should work for everybody. I should think for all the sentient beings. So thinking that, and then again practicing the love and compassion, forgiveness, and giving more importance other than me, other than oneself. So that practice, what we call the altruistic intentions or bodhisattva vow or mind of enlightenment, right? So this is third practice or third the vow that we have. of thought commitment that we have. And now fourth one is then, now it's becoming the Vajrayana level, where you accept the technique that whatever your teacher show you, no matter what other people say, no matter what happens, whether that is good or whether that is bad, whether that is wrong or whether that is right, whether that is black or white, doesn't matter. Once you accept that, you go for it. So that kind of the technique that you accept and you apply. So that comes into this Vajrayana vow. So how to say this? These four things that we have to understand: refuge vow, Pratimoksha vow, Bodhisattva vow, and the Vajrayana vow. So these four vow, the four level that we have. So to become the Buddhist, at the very first, that we have to take a refuge vow, and once you take a refuge vow, then after that, it's your choice that where you want to stick, which path you want to practice, which one you make sense, and according to that, then it's come to the individual choice. So this is the general informations of what Buddha taught and what Buddhism is. I try my best. If I have done wrong, sorry. And then later on this evening, we follow up this four path. We follow up this Vajrayana path a little more. I try to give you more information about that. And